What is going on, guys? My name is Cameron and welcome back to the Spider-Man Miles Morales series. This is issue 5. Now, I know some of you guys were telling me in the comments that nothing is really happening with this series, so you was actually going to drop it and stop collecting it. And I told you guys to wait until around issue 7 or 9 because that's usually when comics start to pick up, that's when they start to get the storylines, etc. Very much similar to how the Flash TV series didn't introduce Reverse Flash until episode 9. That's pretty much what it's like in the comics. So yeah, just a little bit of a heads up, because if you were thinking of dropping this series, I say at least pick up this issue, because quite a few things happen in it that will surprise you, and it's actually pretty awesome. So without any further ado, guys, let's get into this issue. Alright, so getting into the issue, I know some of you guys were very upset with what Gank did in the previous issue, revealing Miles' secret to Goldballs, aka Fabio. And if you remember, Fabio was actually invited to live with Miles and Gank. Now, Miles doesn't actually know this, but I think this is the beginning of like a beautiful friendship between the three characters, especially for Miles, considering that Golden Balls was with the X-Men, so he technically knows what it's like to have these powers, and I think it'll take some of the weight off Miles' shoulders, knowing that there's someone that he can confide in who knows what it's like to have superpowers. Now, going back to this girl on the internet that is absolutely obsessed with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, she's actually really interested in this comic because, if you think about it, she's technically a news outlet specifically based around Spider-Man, so she'll know where Spider-Man is at all times, every time, all the time, whatever you want to call it. And so it seems like this is an easy way for other people such as Gank, etc. to know the whereabouts of Miles Morales at all times, as Spider-Man that is. But it is a very interesting concept to have. Instead of it being the Daily Bugle having newspapers, instead it's an online fan making videos for other viewers, just focusing all about Spider-Man. We also see the return of Miles' grandmother, and if I remember correctly, she wasn't actually in the previous issue, and of course she's still there. She's definitely letting us know that she's still there, and she definitely kicks it up a notch in this comic, becoming even more of a threat towards Miles Morales, even going as far as hiring a private investigator, and of course that is the famous Jessica Jones. Now, of course, I've seen the Jessica Jones Netflix series, I know that she's an Inhuman, but is she an Inhuman in these comics? That's something we'll have to figure out. I also think the criminal duo of Black Cat and Hammerhead actually fits quite well. They seem to be working well together, and it's actually an interesting character interaction. Definitely something that you would not have expected. And one thing that I'd actually like to point out is that this guy who's taking Miles' fingerprints kind of looks like Matt Murdock Daredevil. Obviously he's not, but it looks like it. And we later discovered that Miles doesn't have any fingerprints. Now, could this be because of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. have burnt his fingerprints because he's part of the Avengers to protect him or something like that? And we've also got this very interesting moment where Black Cat mentions that Miles could be connected. But the thing is, connected to what? Connected to S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that? Who knows? But I think the main thing about this is that Black Cat nor Hammerhead don't really know Miles' power set or anything like that. They just assume that he's another Spider-Man, not realizing that he could have a few extra powers up his sleeve, because we actually see that in this issue and he's completely taken by surprise for the very second time. And yes, I absolutely mean that this is the second time ever that Miles has used this power, ever. The first time he used it was in Miles Morales The Ultimate Spider-Man issue 12, right before Secret Wars kicked off, which was almost a year ago. And the reactions from the other characters in the room is phenomenal. None of them know what is about to happen and they cannot believe it. And I expect the reaction from the characters in the comic kind of depict the reader's reaction when they saw that happen on the pages. Now, going into detail of Miles' power, it seems to be an extended version of Miles' Venom Blast, more or less exploding out of his body. We don't actually know too much about what it is because it hasn't really been touched upon in the comics since the first time he used it, so hopefully we discover more about it in the future of this series, and we'll see where it takes us. It really seems like this comic is showcasing Miles' superpowers a lot more than usual, not only because we got like that crazy Venom Blast, then the brand new Venom Outer Blast or whatever it was, the Venom Explosion, but then we also got Miles using his Spider Sense, and to be honest, I don't really think we see Miles use his Spider Sense too much in the comics, specifically because it's not as sensitive as Peter Parker's, if I remember correctly. So it's really awesome to see Miles showing off the spider side of his character a lot more. And just how he lands on all fours in the alleyway chasing after Black Cat is very Spider-esque, and I love it. As you could also tell back there, Black Cat managed to get away, so I assume we'll be seeing her a lot more in the future. And most likely next time she'll be prepared enough to stand up against Miles and his powers, etc. Now, going into what this comic shows as Miles, I think this comic is suggesting that Miles is the new Spider-Man, and even though he's taken up the Spider-Man mantle, he's definitely not the same as the original Peter Parker Spider-Man. And it's almost suggesting that the city needs to get used to that Miles is his own person, he's got his own power set, he can handle himself, etc. And I think the villains are beginning to learn that as well. And as you can see back there, even the police were saying how usually he leaves a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man like note on the villains or whatever, and Miles didn't. So hopefully Miles gets like maybe his own note, maybe he starts writing his own notes, or maybe it's to suggest again that Miles is a completely different Spider-Man and he's his own Spider-Man, and he doesn't leave notes. Now, coming up to the final reveal of the comic, getting into the final few pages, and we finally see Miles' father Jefferson, who used to have a past with S.H.I.E.L.D., rejoin and become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. once more. And this actually brings up a few suggestions for me, like, why is he getting into this? Is it because he wants to work alongside his son? Is it because he wants to look after Miles, make sure that he's okay, etc.? Is he the reason that Miles Morales is connected, as Black Cat says, because all this time it's been Jefferson protecting his son or something like that? And this actually makes me wonder, will they be bringing out a comic series specifically for Jefferson as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because if they did, I would definitely buy that, because Miles' dad is a badass, and I think it would be totally worth doing. So it's going to be interesting to see how Miles' dad expands his character in S.H.I.E.L.D., how he expands his character in this comic series, and pretty much how Miles takes it. And last but not least, we did see Jessica Jones back there spying on Miles Morales and his friends, and eventually she's going to figure out that he's Spider-Man one way or another. Or here's a theory, maybe Miles' dad Jefferson stops her from spying on him or something like that. And if she is an Inhuman, then maybe she will respect the fact that Miles is Spider-Man, or maybe Miles will save her from like an explosion or something. I don't know, but that is the end of the issue. So guys, what did you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to review this, but again, this issue is only a monthly series, so it's going to be like a month until the next issue releases, and so I cannot wait for it just as much as you guys can. But in the meantime, I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. It was crazy. The new power being revealed once again. Hopefully we're going to find out more. Miles' dad joining S.H.I.E.L.D., that is absolutely mental. And of course the surprising twist of Miles' grandmother hiring a private investigator, Jessica Jones, to spy on Miles, and that's also bringing Jessica Jones into the comics, and if she's indeed an Inhuman, then that only makes it even more interesting. Now that is the end of this review, guys. Hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button if you love this YouTube channel. I have just set up a Patreon so you guys can become a patron and support the YouTube channel. The link is in the description along with all the social media such as Twitter and Facebook, and I will be doing a giveaway of Civil War 2 on my Twitter tonight, so make sure you check that out. And I guess I will see you guys in the next video.